Hey Reddit. This is gonna sound insane and I'm still shaking as I write this, but I swear on everything. This story is 100% true. And yes, I played dumb on purpose. I had to, because nothing else was working. But let me back up. Let me tell you how I became the sweet, clueless daughter-in-law to catch my mother-in-law sleeping with my father. My name's Lena, I'm 29, and I've been married to Colton 32M for a little over 4 years now. We met in college, fell in love fast, moved in within 6 months, and were engaged a year after that. Colton was my person, the love of my life. Smart, patient, grounded, and funny in this low-key dry way that used to make me feel like I could breathe easier just being around him. But from day one, his mother, Cynthia, hated me. Not even an exaggeration. Like on the second time I met her, she told me my lipstick was a bit vulgar for a family dinner and asked me, "So what exactly is it that you do?" With his fake innocent blink. She called me sweet in that syrupy way that means she thinks you're a moron, and she'd say stuff like, Colton always used to date girls with more ambition. But I guess stability is important too. I work in nonprofit management. I'm not rich, but I love what I do. Apparently, that's not enough for Cynthia, who once introduced me to her tennis friends as Colton's wife. She works for some volunteer thing, I think. Colton always said, "That's just how she is. Don't take it personally. She doesn't mean anything by it." And at first I tried. I really did. But Cynthia would pull Colton aside after holidays and whisper just loud enough for me to hear, "You sure she's right for you? You've changed so much." Eventually, I realized she wasn't just throwing shade. She was actively trying to get between us. I once caught her texting Colton late at night saying, "You can always come home, sweetheart. Some people just aren't wife material." Still, I stayed polite. Smiled. Brought her wine she liked. Sent her Christmas cards. Nothing worked. Now here's where it gets twisted. Around 6 months ago, my dad, Russell 58M, moved back to town. He and my mom split 10 years ago after he had an emotional affair. And though we stayed in touch, our relationship was rocky. But now that he was back, he was trying. He invited me to dinner. Offered to help around the house. Wanted to reconnect. One night, I was over at his new apartment helping him with his Wi-Fi. He's terrible with tech. And I noticed something weird. He got a text on his phone. Just a heart emoji from someone saved as "See wine glass." I joked, "Hot date?" And he laughed way too hard, turned off the screen fast, and said it was just a friend from the gym. Right. My dad hasn't been to a gym since Bush was in office. That alone would have been nothing, except later that night, I saw his tablet on the kitchen counter, same Apple ID. And when I walked past, a message popped up. "I miss your hands. Let's do brunch after Sunday service. We'll say we ran into each other, winking face." And it was from Cynthia, my freaking mother-in-law. I just froze. My whole body went cold. I double-checked. Profile photo, Cynthia. The contact name, "See wine glass." There were dozens of messages. Her calling him baby. Him saying how sexy she looked at Colton's birthday dinner. Literal pictures. Some, let's say, artistic angles I didn't need to see of either one of them. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I left. Went home. And I just sat in the car in the driveway for an hour thinking. Because this wasn't just gross. It was strategic. She hated me. Always had. And now she was screwing my dad? I couldn't tell Colton. He wouldn't believe me. Or worse, he would, and it would destroy him. His mom and my dad? That's a betrayal that leaves burns. So I decided I wouldn't confront them. Not yet. I'd act clueless. Sweet. Ditzy even. I'd win her trust. Make her think she'd won. I told Colton I wanted to bond more with his family. Especially his mom. He looks suspicious. He knows I don't love her. But he said it was really mature of me. So I started the show. Every Sunday, I called Cynthia to ask if she wanted to grab coffee. I praised her hair, her wardrobe. Asked for tips on cooking pork chops. I even asked if she thought I should get Botox. She lit up like I joined the cult. I became her little project. Her favorite idiot. And then I started bringing up my dad. At brunch. Isn't it wild how dad's back in town? He seems so lonely sometimes. But he says he's meeting new people. I hope whoever he ends up with is decent, She smiled, said nothing. Sipped her mimosa. Later at her house. You ever meet someone so unexpected you feel like the universe is messing with you? She looked right at me and said, "Oh yes. It's always the people you least expect." This woman was giddy. Like she was getting off on the idea that she was playing me. She thought I was oblivious. I kept the act going. I started helping her with her phone settings while she drank wine. Guess what? She had a whole secret album on her iPhone called Private Joy. I synced it to my iCloud under a hidden email. I now had pictures, call logs, voice memos, and videos. One of them at a cabin. Another one in her car, parked on a dark street, giggling like teenagers. One message said, "Lena's such a sweet girl. So trusting. I almost feel bad." Almost. At that point, it stopped being just about betrayal. I wanted revenge. I wanted to ruin her. And I had a plan. Hey Reddit, Lena here again. So, I found out my mother-in-law Cynthia was having an affair with my dad Russell. And instead of confronting them outright, I decided to play the sweet, naive daughter-in-law and gather evidence while pretending to be Cynthia's new bestie. It worked. Better than I ever could have imagined. Over the course of about 2 months, Cynthia fully let her guard down around me. She started slipping, saying things that were a little too pointed, a little too bold. One afternoon we were at her house, having wine while pretending to plan a family barbecue. I casually mentioned that Dad was thinking about selling his apartment to find something closer to nature. And Cynthia smiled into her wine glass and said, "A little getaway can be so intimate, don't you think?" Then she winked. Winked. I could feel the blood pounding behind my eyes, but I just giggled like a moron and said, "Ah, maybe I should set him up with someone." She snorted and mumbled, "Too late." Under her breath. I almost choked. That night, I updated the secret folder I'd made. Backed up all the new messages, photos, and little voice notes they were leaving each other. In one I heard her literally laughing about how clueless Colton was. He'll never see it coming. He's always been so trusting, bless his heart. And Lena's just swell Lena. She said my name like it was a punchline. I cried. I'm not gonna lie. I sat in our dark living room, headphones in, scrolling through disgusting proof that my ML and my dad were sneaking around and mocking us like we were idiots. I wanted to scream. But I also knew this is the moment you keep the mask on. You keep playing dumb. You wait for the perfect stage. And then, as if fate was feeding me the cue, Colton came into the room that night and said, "I was thinking we should do something big for our anniversary this year. It's been 4 years. Let's make it special." And just like that, it clicked. I was going to burn her down. With candles, champagne, and a slideshow. The plan started simple. I told Colton I wanted to do a joint anniversary dinner. Just family, nothing huge, but something elegant. He loved the idea. I asked him if he minded if I handled most of the planning to keep it a surprise. And he said sure. I rented a private event room at this upscale bistro downtown. Marble floors, long mahogany table, chandeliers, the works. I told both sides of the family it was going to be a presentation-style dinner, and that I'd be preparing a very special gift for Colton. I even hired a photographer and a videographer under the pretense of filming a surprise anniversary tribute. Cynthia was thrilled. "That's so thoughtful, Lena. I'm so glad you're finally embracing tradition." I wanted to bite her face off, but I smiled, batted my lashes, and told her she should really dress up for this one. Next I made the slideshow. It started off sweet. Real photos of Colton and me. Our wedding, our honeymoon in the Rockies, us laughing at a pumpkin patch, slow dancing in our tiny living room. I set it all to soft music, romantic and nostalgic. I wanted everyone lulled into calm. But then slide 14. The pivot. Picture. Cynthia and my dad Russell in the background of a mirror selfie. She's wrapped in a towel. He's shirtless. Next slide. A timestamp shot of them kissing behind my dad's apartment complex. Taken by a cheap motion sensor camera I secretly placed a few weeks earlier. Slide 16. Text messages, one bubble read, "She's so gullible it's almost adorable." The other replied, "I know. She thinks we're just family friends. LOL. And then the final slide, a video. A 13-second screen recording of a voice memo. Cynthia whispering. It's almost a thrill, knowing they have no idea. Maybe I am a terrible mother. But God, it's exciting. I finished the presentation with a black screen and the words, "Happy anniversary, Colton. I love you. I hope your mother loves someone too." The night arrived. Everyone came dressed to the nines. Cynthia wore this wine-colored silk dress like she thought she was the Queen of New England. Russell showed up in a gray blazer like he was trying out for a Cialis commercial. My husband looked happy. A little tired from work but excited. I hugged him tightly when he walked in. That part wasn't fake. Dinner was beautiful. Candles, champagne, laughter. I made a toast, thanked everyone for coming and said, "Before dessert I have a little gift." Just a short video montage I put together to honor love and family. Colton squeezed my hand. Cynthia gave me a smug nod. I pressed play. First few slides, us. Laughter. My cousin even wiped away a tear. Then came the towel selfie. I swear to God, the sound in the room dropped out like oxygen leaving a vacuum. Someone choked on their wine. My aunt said, "What the hell?" Colton blinked, leaned forward. "Cynthia?" Completely frozen. Then the next image. And the next. And the next. My dad had the audacity to mutter, "What is this, some kind of prank?" Cynthia hissed, "Turn it off," and actually stood up, reaching for the remote. But I was faster. I snatched it and said, "Sit down, Cynthia. I'm not done." The voice memo played. Her voice oozed through the speakers like poison honey. When it ended, I turned to the room. "So, that's been going on for about 9 months. While Colton and I were trying to plan for a baby. While Cynthia was telling him I was too cold to be a mother. While my father was pretending to reconcile with me." No one spoke. My mom covered her mouth and whispered, "Oh my God, Russell." My cousin screamed, "With his daughter-in-law's Are you serious?" Cynthia started crying. Not pretty crying. Ugly, blotchy, lip-twitching sobs. She stammered something about feelings she didn't plan on. About how she and Russell just clicked. About how she didn't mean to hurt anyone. My dad? He just walked out. Didn't say a word. Not even to me. Colton stood up slowly. Looked at me. Then at his mom. And said, "Tell me this isn't real." She couldn't. She just sat down and cried harder. Then he turned to me. And I saw something break in his face. So there I was, standing in front of a room of stunned family members, with a paused slideshow of my Mel Cynthia making out with my dad on the screen behind me, and my husband Colton staring at me like he didn't even recognize me. He wasn't mad. Not at first. He looked shattered. Completely hollowed out. He backed away from the table and said, "I need a second." Then walked straight out of the private dining room and didn't come back. He left me standing there in heels and fake lashes and full battle armor, with Cynthia sobbing into a linen napkin and my dad's chair still empty. He had already ghosted the scene. The room was buzzing, people whispering, gasping, some looking at me like I'd lost my mind, others nodding like finally someone said it. My Aunt Trish was practically applauding. My mom was glaring holes into the floor. And Cynthia? She tried to collect herself, smear her mascara off her face with a cocktail napkin, and asked me, through a trembling voice, "Why would you do this? What kind of person are you?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "The kind of person you thought was stupid. Guess you were wrong." She left a few minutes later, dramatically trying to salvage some dignity by waving her hand and muttering, "This is beneath me." Spoiler, it wasn't. I went home alone that night. Colton hadn't answered any of my texts or calls. I kept checking the GPS on our shared account. He'd turned off location. I sat in bed still wearing half my makeup, staring at the ruined dress I'd picked out just to set a trap. I thought I'd feel victorious. But instead, all I felt was the slow crash of silence. The next day, I woke up to a text from him. "I'm at Marcus's. I need some space. I can't talk right now." Marcus is his best friend from college, solid guy, loyal, always liked me. I hoped he'd talk some sense into him. But for 3 days, nothing. Radio silence. No calls, no answers. Just that vague message hanging over me like a verdict. Meanwhile, the family was exploding. My mom called and asked, "What the hell did you think you were doing?" She's always been image obsessed. To her, exposing betrayal is worse than the betrayal itself because it makes everyone look bad. I told her she should be more upset that her ex-husband is screwing his daughter's mother-in-law, but she just sighed and said, "Lena, some things you don't air out in public." My cousin Rachel, on the other hand, sent me a voice memo that just said, "You're my F****** hero." So that was something. Cynthia tried calling Colton dozens of times. He didn't pick up. She sent me one message, a single text that said, "Congratulations. You got what you wanted. I hope it was worth it." I didn't reply. And then on the 4th day, Colton came home. He looked exhausted. Like he hadn't slept. He didn't say much at first. Just walked in, dropped his bag, and sat on the edge of the couch like it was the edge of a cliff. Finally, he said, "How long have you known?" I told him the truth. About 2 months. I found a message on Dad's tablet. Then I started collecting proof. His eyes flicked toward me. "And you didn't think you could just talk to me about it? Instead of whatever that was?" "I didn't think you'd believe me," I said. "Not when it was her." He ran his hand through his hair and muttered, "Jesus, Lena." Then he got quiet. Too quiet. He finally said, "I didn't know what I was watching. First I thought it was fake. Or old. Or photoshopped. I literally thought my brain was breaking. Like it didn't make any sense." I nodded. It didn't make sense to me either. That's why I needed people to see it. He stared at the floor. Then he said something I didn't expect. "It was true. Everything you showed. But the way you did it, I can't stop thinking about it. You smiled through the whole thing, like you'd planned it for months. I did, I said, because I knew she'd never admit it. And I knew you'd never believe it unless you saw it with your own eyes. And I needed her to feel what she made me feel. I needed her to hurt. He didn't speak. Then he said something that actually broke me. You became someone else to do this. And I don't know if I liked that person. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask him how he thought I got there. I wanted to ask why he was more upset about my performance than the fact that his mom had been sleeping with my dad behind our backs. But I just said, okay, so what now? He shrugged. I don't know. I need time. It's been 3 weeks. He's still living at Marcus's. We've texted but nothing serious. No conversations about divorce or reconciliation. Just floaty, detached exchanges like we're colleagues, not partners. I went to therapy. I showed the therapist the screenshots and asked, am I insane for how I handled it? She said, you're not insane. You were strategic. Whether or not that strategy brought you peace is another question. Spoiler, it didn't. Not yet anyway. As for Cynthia, she's laying low. Word got around, and apparently a few of her social groups have quietly uninvited her from events. She's been telling people she's taking time away to heal. Yeah, okay. My dad? I haven't heard from him once. My mom says he left town for a while. Probably to let the dust settle. Probably ashamed. Good. So here I am. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if Colton and I will make it, or if this will be the thing that finally breaks us apart for good. I don't know if I'm the villain in his story now, or just the woman who finally broke the spell. But I do know this. Cynthia thought I was weak. She thought I was simple and soft and easy to manipulate. She played the long game. So I played one longer. And whether or not it wins me my marriage back, at least now no one doubts who she really is anymore. Hey Reddit, Lena again. It's been about a month since the anniversary incident. The night I exposed my mother-in-law's affair with my father in front of both sides of the family using a slideshow of damning evidence. After the dinner, after Colton moved out and my dad fled town, I thought I could start rebuilding. That maybe once the dust settled, people would see the bigger picture. That I was the one who'd been lied to, manipulated, cornered. But people don't like truth when it's ugly. They prefer the lie that keeps things peaceful. The first crack came from my mom's side of the family. My Uncle Harvey, classic Southern patriarch type, called to scold me. You humiliated your father and your husband in public. That's not how we handle family matters. I asked him how they should be handled, then quietly, like secrets we pretend not to notice. He didn't answer. Just sighed and said, I hope you haven't ruined your marriage over this performance. Performance. That's what they all kept calling it. Like I was some twisted wedding clown trying to get attention. A week later, I ran into my cousin April at Target. She pulled me aside and said, everyone in Mom's Bible group is talking about it. They're saying Cynthia's having a breakdown. That she's like on meds now. I blinked. She should have thought about that before sleeping with her son's wife's father. April shrugged. I'm not defending her. But people think maybe you went too far. I walked away before I said something I'd regret. Meanwhile, Colton stayed silent. 2 weeks. 3. 4. Finally, I got a message from him. We should talk. We met at a neutral location. A coffee shop near the park. I wore plain clothes, no makeup, hair in a bun. I wanted to look as tired and raw as I felt. He looked thinner. Dark circles under his eyes. Like someone who hadn't slept well since his world cracked in half. He sat down and said, you were right. About everything. I've been talking to a therapist. She says I'm dealing with layered betrayal. Mom, your dad. You. I stiffened. Me. He nodded slowly. Not because of what you found, but because of how you weaponized it. You didn't come to me. You didn't give me a chance to process. You put me in front of an audience and pulled the curtain. I wanted to argue, to scream, you think I enjoyed that? But instead I just said, I didn't trust that you'd choose me over her. That hit him. Hard. He leaned back in his chair. Exhaled like someone who'd just been sucker punched. She raised me, he finally said. She's been manipulating me since I was a kid, and I didn't see it. Or I refused to. And now I don't even know what parts of my life were real. I reached for his hand. He didn't pull away, but he didn't hold it either. I don't hate you, he said. But I don't know if I can be married to someone who can go that dark without flinching. That wrecked me. I did what I thought I had to, I whispered. He nodded. I know. That's the problem. Cynthia, meanwhile, had gone quiet. Until she didn't. I got an email from a blocked address. No subject line. Just this. Your husband will never look at you the same. You humiliated him. You humiliated me. I may have made mistakes, but I didn't destroy an entire family for the thrill of being right. Congratulations, Lena. You got the spotlight. Now sit in it. Then a few days later, Colton told me Cynthia was trying to mend things. She'd invited him to lunch, said she was seeing a counselor, begged him not to shut her out. He asked me what I thought, and I told him the truth. If you want a relationship with her, I won't stop you, but I can't be anywhere near her again. Not after everything. He nodded. Later he texted me. I met her. She cried the whole time. She said she was lonely, that your dad made her feel seen. I didn't know what to say. Of course she cried. That's her move. Every time she gets caught, she plays the victim. I bet she practiced that tearful monologue in the mirror 10 times before meeting him. Then came the part one wasn't prepared for. Russell, my dad, came back. 2 months after vanishing, he showed up at my office. No warning. Just waltzed in with his faux dad smile and said, "You got a minute, kiddo?" I stared at him like he was a stranger. He said he wanted to clear the air, that he regretted how things went down, that he never meant for anyone to get hurt. That Cynthia wasn't who he thought she was. And then my personal favorite. You've got to understand, it just happened. We were both lonely. I said, "You had a daughter. You could have called me." He didn't answer. Instead, he looked at me with sad eyes and said, "You've always been so smart. But sometimes, Lena, you cut too deep." That was when I realized he wasn't sorry. Not really. He just didn't like that I fought back. So I told him, "You don't get to drop by like this. You don't get to rewrite this." He left. No apology. No promises. Just vanished again. Later that night, I called Colton and told him what happened. He listened in silence. Then he said, "We should take some space. Real space." I froze. We already have. I mean legal space. That was the first time either of us said the word separation. It's been 5 days since that conversation. Colton's staying with Marcus full-time now. We're splitting bills. We agreed to put the house on the market. He took the dog. I kept the cat. We're doing it civilly, neutrally, like people who used to love each other but now can't find the map back. And Cynthia? Last I heard, she's posting wine quotes on Facebook and pretending her life is so full right now. A few friends still hover around her out of pity. She spins the story her way. Lena overreacted. Lena was unstable. Lena's always been cold. Funny how the woman who mocked me for being too emotional now paints me as hysterical. Here's the truth, Reddit. I didn't want any of this. I wanted a husband, a family, a future. But when someone digs a knife into your back and tells you it's love, you don't keep smiling. You turn around. And yes, I turned around with fire. But I never wanted the whole forest to burn. Hey Reddit, Lena here. By now, if you followed, you know how deep this thing goes. I caught my mother-in-law Cynthia cheating with my dad Russell. I played the role of the innocent, trusting daughter-in-law just long enough to trap her. Then I dropped a bomb at my anniversary dinner with receipts, photos, messages, even voice memos. The room exploded. My marriage shattered. And over the last few weeks, I've watched the people closest to me peel away one by one, like they were never fully mine to begin with. But this week was when the real masks finally came off. And I saw everyone for who they really are. Let's start with the obvious. Colton officially filed for legal separation. We'd already been living apart for over a month, and at this point I think we both knew reconciliation was unlikely. But getting served? That made it real. I wasn't angry. Not at him. Not really. But the wording in the document made me laugh bitterly. Under cause for separation, it said, emotional cruelty and breakdown of trust due to intentional public humiliation of family member. They meant Cynthia. Cynthia. The woman who slept with my father and lied to Colton's face for nearly a year. I outed a predator and suddenly I'm the cruel one? I asked Colton about it later over the phone. His voice was flat. The lawyer advised that wording. It's not personal. Not personal? I repeated. You're legally labeling me as emotionally cruel. He sighed. You blindsided me, Lena. I'm not saying what she did wasn't awful. I'm saying what you did left scars too. And maybe he's right. But maybe some scars are the price of pulling off a mask that's been glued on for years. A few days later, I got a message from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Cynthia's sister Janice. We'd met once at a family barbecue. She always seemed like the black sheep of that family, artsy, divorced, and way too blunt for Cynthia's taste. Her message just said, I know everything. You were right. We met at a diner. Janice showed up in oversized sunglasses and ordered black coffee like she was in a noir film. She leaned in and said, "Cynthia's been like this her whole life. Manipulating. Scheming. Always needing to be the center of gravity. I warned Colton when he was a kid that she was dangerous in a soft way, like sugar you choke on." I asked her if she knew about the affair with my dad. She nodded grimly. "He's not the first." That stopped me cold. "What?" Janice stirred her coffee slowly. "There was another one. Years ago. When Colton was in high school. A married neighbor. She claimed it was an accident that he came onto her. But I found notes she wrote him. Erotic, graphic crap. I told her I'd expose her if she didn't stop." I sat there stunned. The cold realization setting in. This wasn't a one-time lapse. This was Cynthia's pattern. Her game. Her thrill. Janice continued. She targets people close to her. People connected. Because it gives her power. I wanted to vomit. "She always hated you," Janice said. "Because you were warm in ways she wasn't. Because Colton loved you without needing her permission." That night, I looked back at the voice memo I'd saved of Cynthia where she said, "Maybe I am a terrible mother. But God, it's exciting." I listened to it 5 times. 10. And then I realized I wasn't her first casualty. But I'd damn well be her last. I called Colton. Told him everything Janice said. The neighbor. The old letters. Her obsession with control. He listened. Didn't interrupt. Then he said, "I remember that neighbor. He and his wife moved away out of nowhere. Dad said it was because of a job transfer." I waited. Then he said, "I thought you were trying to destroy her. But you were trying to save me." I said, "I was trying to survive. Saving you was just part of it." Silence. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner," he said. "Should have felt good. But it didn't. It felt 10 pounds too late." Then came the next twist. Cynthia broke her silence with a podcast interview. I'm not even kidding. Some local Real Women, Real Stories podcast featured her on an episode titled Scandal, Shame, and Second Chances. I listened to it in full. Twice. She spun the whole thing like she was the victim of a controlling daughter-in-law who staged a public smear campaign after a minor emotional entanglement. Minor emotional entanglement. With my father. She said things like, "I felt so unseen for so long. Russell understood that pain. I made a mistake, but I was ambushed. I was betrayed by someone I trusted." She even said I violated her digital privacy. That I manipulated the narrative. I nearly threw my phone at the wall. The episode went viral in our town. Local Facebook pages started flooding with comments. Some people sided with her. Others called her a snake. But what cut deepest? Some said things like, "They're all toxic. That whole family needs therapy." As if we were all equally guilty. I realized, people don't want villains and victims. They want clean lines. They want simple stories. And mine? It's anything but simple. I've been in therapy. Real therapy. The kind where your face gets blotchy and your voice cracks and the room gets quiet enough to hear your heart breaking. My therapist said something last week that gutted me. "You were never naive, Lena. You were hopeful. That's not a flaw. But the world punishes hopeful women. Especially when they stop smiling. So here I am. The marriage? Almost officially over. My dad? Radio silence. Cynthia? Doing podcasts apparently. My name? Attached to a scandal I didn't cause but had the audacity to reveal. But me? I'm finally breathing. Because for the first time in years I'm not pretending. I'm not putting on the nice girl mask. I'm not smiling through barbs. I'm not playing along just to keep the peace. I exposed the rot. And the rot screamed back. Let it scream. Because truth doesn't need to be polite. Hey Reddit. Lena here one last time. 3 weeks ago I signed the separation agreement. No fault, mutual division of assets. Colton keeps the dog, I keep the house, at least for now. He said he didn't want to fight. He just wanted peace. I told him. Then stop pretending I was the one who started the war. We haven't spoken since. It wasn't a scream-filled breakup. No slamming doors, no shattered plates. Just a slow, soft unraveling. Like 2 people walking out of a house on fire, knowing there's nothing left to save. He said, "I don't hate you, but I can't unsee what you did." And I said, "Neither can I." My dad Russell sent me a card last week. A literal Hallmark card. On the front it said, "Time heals all wounds." Inside he wrote, "I'm sorry for everything. I miss you. I hope one day you'll understand." No accountability. No acknowledgement. Just vague platitudes scribbled in cheap ink. I didn't respond. I took the card, lit a match, and burned it in the kitchen sink. It curled up like a dry leaf. Gone in seconds. Like him. Cynthia, of course, is still trying to control the narrative. She released a second podcast episode. This one was about narcissistic daughters-in-law and the danger of vendettas. She never named me directly, but she didn't need to. The implication was clear. She said, "I've always led with kindness, but some people take kindness for weakness." And I finally realized, she really believes she's the victim. She's rewritten the story in her head so many times that she's cast herself as the heroine, the misunderstood matriarch, the poor, vulnerable woman seduced by a lonely man. Meanwhile, I've become her villain, the calculating, heartless woman who orchestrated a public execution of her character. Let her believe it. Because while she's recording podcasts and drowning in curated pity, I'm building something real. Something quiet. Something whole. My piece started small. I repainted the living room, deleted the shared cloud album, put away every photo from the wedding, took off my ring, slid it into a drawer, and didn't cry when I did it. I stopped performing, stopped apologizing for being too intense, too prepared, too emotional. I started taking long walks at sunset, letting myself feel things I'd locked away for years. Grief, rage, grief again. I even started writing again. Not for revenge. For me. And then last Sunday something strange happened. I ran into Marcus, Colton's best friend. The one he stayed with during the separation. We bumped into each other at a local bookstore. He looked surprised, then genuinely warm. We sat down for coffee, and I braced myself for judgment. But he said something I didn't expect. "You know, I thought what you did was brutal. But then I saw how Colton's been handling everything. And I realized you were never the problem. You were the mirror. He just didn't like what he saw." I blinked. He continued, "Cynthia's always been toxic. We all knew it. We just looked the other way." I laughed soft, bitter. He leaned in. "You didn't go too far. You just stopped pretending." That stayed with me, because for so long I thought maybe I had become someone cruel. Someone so bent on justice that I lost my humanity. But now I think maybe I just got tired of being polite while people hurt me. Here's what peace looks like. It's not a movie ending. There's no perfect closure, no romantic reconciliation, no slow-motion courtroom victory. It's quieter than that. It's Cynthia's number blocked. It's my dad's silence no longer stinging. It's walking past the bedroom mirror and not flinching at who I see. It's knowing that the truth, messy, inconvenient, and explosive as it was, belongs to me. And I spoke it. Loudly. Publicly. Unapologetically. Maybe I became the villain in someone else's story. But at least I stopped being a footnote in my own. So, was I the asshole? You tell me, Reddit. All I know is, I may have lost a husband, a father, and half a family. But I found my voice. And I'm never silencing her again.